of Good Morning Tone Town because, Tom, set forward your clocks. We're living in daylight standard time?
I guess so.
Right?
All I know is
Is that
I'm more tired. So you do it also. I had a brief moment where I was like, well, Alex is in different time zones, so what am I going to do? Do we have to adjust Tone Town time? But Tone Town won't
Tone
be restricted by daylight savings time.
right? Tone Town is really more of like a feeling, kind of like indigestion or you know,
Fear and
or
anxiety.
squeamishness.
Yeah,
That's kind of where Tone Town lives.
right. Just general anxiety, about your
and,
tone.
and to those of you who are watching this on repeat, or those of you, none of you who are live right now, my name is Alex,
My name is Tom.
and welcome to Tone Town. Let's play our A chord.
There it is. Nailed
So
it.
I was jamming recently, and I was late. I was dragging, and I thought it was my playing, but then I realized it's because we set the time forward. I was still on old time.
There it is. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Mark, good morning. That's part of the joke. We need to. You're not allowed to say good evening. You have to say it's always good morning. There we go.
It's
No matter
always
what,
morning in Tone
it's always
Town.
good morning. So good morning, Mark.
Oh, it's always morning in Tone Town. That's good. I
I
gotta
like
write
that.
that down. It's going on the board. Hold on.
Go on the board. So here's a question though. Is
Okay.
it time wise? Is it better? Is it better to be rushing or just slightly behind the beat?
So
I
behind.
Oh,
Behind.
absolutely. Behind all day. Behind all day. Because if you're on top of it or ahead of it, ooh, it's nasty. You can play off being just a little bit behind as like, you know. It also just sounds if you're gonna choose between what mistake sounds better, you gotta be just a little behind. Goof morning.
Being,
I like
yeah,
that.
rushing shows no discipline. You know,
Yep.
rushing shows immaturity.
No
That's
rushing
why I
in Tone
rush.
Town. No rushing in Tone Town. You're right though. Yeah, because you sit. Yeah, I mean it's a nervous habit. I think a lot of guitar players have that. You sit down and like, oh, play me that song. You start playing something. You're playing it way too fast to demonstrate. Not even that you're not, like something that should not be played fast. Not like some crazy lick, but something that deserves to have a proper tempo. You just fly through it. Slightly behind, Mark says. Yeah, we're way too ahead. Definitely, definitely.
Why is that? I mean, it's so frustrating because it's like you go so long playing in bands, and then you like look back, you're like, have I been playing ahead of the beat for like 10 years,
Maybe.
15? And it's so funny too because like you don't feel like you're making that much of an impact as a guitarist because you're thinking like, oh, the bass, the drums, even keys have more of a percussive impact than you. But then you're thinking like you really are so every person is contributing so much to Tone Town that you really have to don't discount how much of an impact you have on your band. That's
Yeah.
another thing that I've slowly realized. I'm like, wow, I'm overplaying, I'm too loud, I'm rushing.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
three mortal sins of Tone Town.
If you can, if you know, and it's fun. Like if you can lock in on all three of those things, like I don't care how fast you can play or how impressively you can play. If you can't lock in on those three things, the proper dynamics in the groove, just
Patrick, gonna.
that's a copy and paste nightmare from. Do you know him? Yeah, Patrick the
He's
Bot. Um, yeah,
sorry,
but
not one of
anyway,
those streamers.
yeah,
So the thing that made me a better guitarist was being a bassist. I was a bassist on tour for a while, and it just made me realize how much I was rushing, and how much I needed to pay attention to the drummer.
yes,
And like getting a
yes,
good feel for your drummer, like because every drummer, I mean, like every musician has like a little thumbprint, right? And if you can find out like what they're all about, if you can like anticipate where they're gonna go, if you can anticipate like where their energy is, it's like the best feeling in the world.
yeah. When I started to record more bass for like a lot of the tracks and stuff I do to demo gear for Premier Guitar, that's when I realized the tendency because it's not super noticeable it's not way out of time, but when you can actually visually see like every bass line I'm playing, like here's the kick, which is I don't have a real drummer, I have a fake drummer. Here's the kick, it's right on, and then the bass note is the attack is just like right
Yeah.
there. And I'm like, gotta relax, dude. You got a million takes. Just relax.
What's the rush? Where are you going? Yeah.
Where are you going? It's not
Those
you're
mullet
gonna run out of tape in Logic? Come on.
Right.
Yeah.
So okay, you tell me yours, and I'll tell you what I'm working on.
Okay, what I'm working on.
Yeah.
Well, actually, so what I'm working on, and normally we do this at the end. I'm working on 23.
Oh no, a question. I meant a question. I'm working on.
Oh, okay. But I'm gonna plug myself for just a moment. I have the live subscriber count on my YouTube channel up right now, and I'm working on 23,000. I am 53 away. So if anyone here would like to get that artificial and non-important number to 23K, please go ahead and do that. But what I'm working on, and what I wanted to bring up, because I want to talk about tubes, so why not grab an acoustic guitar for the tube conversation, of course, right? Well, I did that because my amp is all over here taken apart and whatnot. But for Premier Guitar, I'm working on a couple shorts about just tube education, because it's one of those things that, and thank you, Ether Boy, already subbed, I appreciate that. So I've got some 12AX7 variants, and preamp tubes generally are the ones that are going to give you more of a variety, subtle, but albeit a variety on the tonality or feel of your amp. So I did a very scientific experiment where I have a loop pedal. I played a couple licks, and I recorded it, so I'm not influencing whatever, and I would play the loop, record it into Logic using one of these Tube Amp Doctor red bass tubes. Nice little free plug for you. And I was curious. I was like, well, how much of a difference is this really going to make? So I've got like an EQ thing up, and I'm mapping out the EQ and everything. And it's like, it is. Here's the thing. So when I just did it yesterday, just for fun, and I'm playing, I'd swap the tube out and play. I was like, there's absolutely a difference here between these three tubes that I have in the preamp position of my Deluxe. But then when I recorded it all disappeared, the difference. So here's my question, and tell me if I'm crazy, because I haven't owned that many amps in my life. It's a feel thing. I can feel it when I'm playing. I'm telling you, like, I'm not crazy. When I'm playing, I can tell the difference between the three tubes that I'm swapping in and out. When I send it through a loop pedal and I'm just listening and I'm watching it in Logic, it's almost impossible to tell the difference. So do you think there's something to, this kind of goes to like the whole digital versus real amp thing. I can feel it. It's different. It is true though. You get a feedback, some type of feedback from a tube amp, and it can change. And I think that's what's happening here. And that is what I wanted to talk about, which is why I have an acoustic guitar to aid in this discussion. So
I am I'm even more in agreement than you. Is that whatever you hear, and if you hear a difference, there's a difference. You don't need to convince me that you hear something different. If you hear it, you hear it.
Yeah.
The way that people perceive sound and the way that everyone's brain kind of like organizes it is justification alone. Like some people, like on the low end, some people can't hear the difference between two pitches, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm telling them it's two different pitches, and they're saying, no, it's not. They're not wrong. They can't hear it. They're not saying, like, they're wrong in terms of, like, there are actually two pitches or two different frequencies. But from their perspective, there's not a difference. So it doesn't make that their hearing, I mean, it makes their hearing incredibly bad. But it doesn't mean that they're not hearing it.
Right.
And so when people argue about, like, oh, it's all in your head, I'm like, of course it is. All sound is in my head.
Literally.
Everything I hear is in my head. That is the whole point. Like, the way I perceive music, when I listen to Mozart, when I listen to Coltrane, when I listen to anyone, it's only exists in my head. And that alone is like, I don't have to justify it to anyone online or any other performer. If I'm hearing it, that's real.
Yeah.
So I am very much a proponent of um, individualistic validity of acoustics. Like, I don't even know if that's a real thing, but I'm like, I get so pissed off. People like, you're not hearing it right. I'm like, jump off the nearest bridge. Like, you don't get to tell me. You don't get to tell me what I hear. Like,
Right.
that's not how this works. Like, I'm not going to tell you what to listen for, but you don't get to tell me what's real and not in my head. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
especially if I don't know you. If I know you, maybe you get a little leeway. You get one freebie a month. You get to tell me what I hear once a month.
I used early in March. I don't think I've used that on you yet. My one.
Yeah. Now, if something's out of tune, yeah,
that's
like
different.
that for sure. But like subtle acoustic differences. But okay, but now let's go into feel. That was my long treatise, right? But in terms of feel, there absolutely is a feel because it's the same thing. Like everyone's biomechanics are different, and the way you respond to things makes you play different. And so I would say the more scientific test is you playing the tubes.
True.
Because like if I plug into a Fender and I plug into a Marshall, I'm playing them differently.
Totally.
When I plug in, it just, you have to play it differently. That's the way. It's a musical instrument. We're not mixing chemicals in a lab here, guys. It's like this is art, and so it's like when you're playing, it's like, oh, he played it differently. It's like, of course, because I'm not a robot. Like, yeah. I'm not a robot, and this is not like a robot room. Like,
right.
These are all musical instruments, and so I just get so confused. Not confused. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to pull one over. They're trying to exert like this like faux rationalistic mind to the art world. Like, this is art, okay? And if you're not a creative person, like I get, you might not understand it. But like for people who are creative and people who are in tune with like how things can be expressed, this is like the little things matter. The 1% of change will matter. Like mixing the blue with white until you get the perfect shade to get the color of the sky that you want on your canvas matters.
Yeah.
So I always think everything. The pick matters. The room matters. Like what you're looking at matters. If there's a candle on, it matters. All these things matter when you're creating something.
It's true. So and it's funny how like when I went to do it more scientifically, the thing where like, because I'm like afraid of the comment section poking holes in everything I'm doing. So it's like, well, they're going to tell me that I'm played it different, and that's why the tube sounds different. It's like, you know, Looper built in.
What's going on? There's been a lot of action here on that.
I don't know. It's gone rogue in the comments there. People are making bold claims about their abilities on guitar.
I'm ridiculously good at guitar. Looper built in.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, mix the same colors, have the same exact tone. Yeah, for sure. And I think just from a you know, I've heard it probably described more eloquently than what I'm describing it, but like certain amplifiers have like a quicker, like I even feel it with like acoustic guitars. Like some can keep up with like really heavy percussive strumming, and others can't. They just like top out, you know. And it's like so it's the same thing with an amplifier. And it's like, you know, one of these tubes, I forget exactly which one it was, but I was like, it just feels better. I don't know. It's not like one has more high end, you know, significantly than the other or something. It's just you can feel the amplifier reacting differently to your input, which then gives you tactile feedback and makes you do different things. So
right, you know, and that, you know, like people talk about like sag and compression. I mean, obviously, like that's another thing. Yeah. And the other interesting thing about tube amps, is like also like, you know, burn-in, where you're like an hour into it, the amp's gonna feel like pretty good, and then an hour after that, like it's gonna start feeling kind of weird, and then another hour after that, you're like, okay, this amp is holding on for dear life.
It's
like, this is you're getting like no pop, you're getting no like punch out of it, which is where I am. You know, I think having a hybrid setup could be kind of cool, where you have like a tube head and a solid state head, and then you kind of get them working together. I don't know if there's a way to do that, but that would be interesting to think about.
So,
you know.
Percussiveness. Did I make that word up? So there you go. That's my thoughts. That's
interesting.
It
Is
is.
this
It's
for
been,
PG that you're doing this?
yeah, yeah. It has been very interesting, and I've never like gone down the rabbit hole of like different tubes and stuff. But now for a previous video, I had a bunch of vintage new old stock, but like I mean stuff from like the 60s, 70s, 50s in some cases, like military grade tubes that I just had for props in a video, and I never plugged them into the amp because I was too afraid to mess up a tube that is going to be very expensive. But I could see how this could become addicting to try different things and and go after tubes that are highly sought after and old and can't find them. Just
Right.
another reason not to practice. Let's just be honest. So, but there you go.
That's
Thanks
true.
for
MG15. That's true.
yeah.
An MG15 is gonna really just it's
See, there
always
you
there
go.
for you.
It's always
Um,
it's always there for you.
I will say this too. Like I've actually never changed a tube in any amp I've ever owned, including the Fender Blues Junior right over
Yeah.
there, which is 20 something years old. Probably due for a tube change.
Yeah.
I'm like probably due for a lot.
Yeah.
But it's like also like upgrading that amp. Like, what am I really doing here? Like, what is this for?
That's so this one, I've had that since 2006, and last year it started. I mean, it was like literally broken. I mean, like tubes cracking, things are popping, not working. So and it was bad tubes from being moved around and whatever, and just used for that long. And when the guy who was working on it was like, what do you want to put in it? And he's like, do you? It basically gave me like 3 levels to choose from, and I was like, I don't know, like whatever. Like
Medium.
medium. Yeah, I think that's what I said. I'm like, I don't know,
Yeah.
bridge the gap. Like I don't know.
The regular. The good
Regular.
stuff.
It's good.
Yeah.
Venti.
Unleaded. I don't know.
Give me a regular. Half calf. Give me half decaf, half calf. And I was like, but then afterwards, like as I've done research, I was like, oh, I probably sounded like such a whatever, like, cause I wasn't a tube connoisseur. I was like, well, put the tongue sole in there. And, from between 65 and 70, is the only year I want a tube from in position V1. It's like, I don't know, dude, like just make it work. It's broken. Can you do that for me?
Yeah.
And that's what he did, so that's it.
Whatever
Yeah.
you recommend.
Yeah. That's basically what I was like, whatever you think is great. That's what he's like, we'll go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he probably did, yeah. I don't know what I think it was the cheapest option actually is what ended up going in there. But so
Hey, as
thanks for
long as it
validating my science experiment over here, which I made too scientific, and I haven't filmed the video yet, so it's okay. I'm glad we had this talk.
I mean, I think if you do the looper, here's what I think you should. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to tell
Do
you
it.
an idea. Like, I think having a blind listen is always good, and then answers at end, because people, who would fancy themselves as a real aficionado when it comes to sonics,
Yeah.
will often get tripped up. I get tripped up all the time when I'm listening to stuff. I'm like, what? Like, that has to be a blank pedal or a blank guitar. And you
Right.
see it and you're like, I was so far off. Like, what was I even listening to? But again, it makes it real. Wow,
Yeah.
Plexco again. Come to Los Angeles. We'll be in Anaheim and NAMM next year. Unfortunately, it's like 11.
We were just there.
10 months away, but we will come and we will hang, man.
The countdown is on.
Really generous.
Yeah, thanks, man.
How do I heart it? There we go.
There it is. Look at that.
that.
Can I heart it from here? I don't think I can do that because I'm just a guy in the. No, it just gives me a choice to report or block, which I don't want to do. Either one of those things.
You missed us. We missed you.
Yeah.
It's hard to. It's only been a week, but again, at daylight saving times, it does feel like a little time travel.
Oh, for sure. I look up and it's bedtime. And like, whoa, what happened? The day is gone.
Steve coming in NAMM. Let's party, brother.
There we go. Tone Town Live, baby. That should be a goal. Like with a live studio audience.
A live stream. I don't have a GoPro on my phone. I have my hands on in front of me.
Yeah.
I have to go into a mirror to like talk to everyone.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's right.
Oh yeah. Or as Vi says, I got my heart on. Oh, Sean, welcome, brother.
Sean,
welcome back, friends.
Some familiar faces. That's good. So
Real
that's
quick thing. I
yeah.
just want to something I learned, and I love to share what I learned. So I'm learning. In case you guys don't, I'm learning to beat it solo for this D'Angelico thing, and something that jumped out at me. Did I talk about this last time?
Well, we talked about
Probably
the
not.
solo a little bit, but yeah,
He
go for it.
does. He throws a major third in it. So right, it's in E minor, right? Right. That's those are the chords underneath it.
Hmm.
Um, and then he throws in this lick, but he goes
Yeah, 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 yeah.
major third over an E minor. It's such a. I was slowing it down to listen. I'm like, what's he playing there? Because I always played it,
Sure, yeah, you're right.
but it's so it's 13th fret.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And it's like I mean that's like a Buddy Guy riff
yeah. It's
or
cool.
like a like an Albert King. That's
Hmm.
probably more like Albert King, but
Yeah.
and then obviously into the what is it next part? This, so it goes like he just throws this crazy classic blues riff with a major third, and like and then back to like shredding because he's coming out of uh so I mean he's doing the band, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's like sandwiched in between these two like crazy kind of like flair things. It's like, you know what? Why don't I throw just a blues riff in here?
That's what was
It's
just
just
amazing to me about his playing. It seems to like it can shift. You know, it shifts so quickly between styles and between approaches and between technique. It's like it's just you know, I'm being
so
just
much cringe to swallow here.
no. Well, thanks.
AC, he's trying to.
Hi, AC.
All you gotta do is keep swiping, brother. Don't worry. I
That's
won't
good,
be in your
right? Cringe
feed.
is cringe is
Uh,
good. Although
I
based
won't
on
be
what
in your.
yeah, wait, based on what I've seen on any of these apps, I would say that the cringe level, you know, I mean, it's debatable. It's low.
Yeah. Do
You
you
might be
want?
bored, but
Maybe he wants me to play Metallica.
uh, it's not a request show. Hey, look at that, Cybertech.
Wow, Cyber, so generous. Thank you, brother.
All right.
Right, that incredibly kind. Okay, so now, um, you know, I posted that video about the John Mayer riff,
Yeah.
and it's something that like I feel like we. I'm not gonna say like I'm the only guy doing this, but I feel like the context of like when things come out and like the impact it has also makes it like talk about Van Halen when 1984 came out, like their last Van Halen album before they all broke up. It was like after years and years of touring and like it all culminated in this amazing album. Like 1984 wouldn't have been there unless there was a build up to it. And with the same thing, that John Mayer riff, like him playing DI, it's like not by itself. It's like, oh, like wow, cool riff. But the fact that like it came right after the Silver Sky came out, and right after everyone was saying Silver Sky is the dumbest idea in the history of guitar, like everyone hated it. I just feel like this is like probably the most important video post that he did for the guitar ever. More important than the Silver Sky SE. Like I feel like that was just like this crazy, just like flip of the script that he did, where he just
Yeah.
like, oh, you don't think it's good? Like this is literally what it sounds like.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's everything he does is pretty intentional, and I don't think that he would have just woke up that day and say, "Hey, let's just throw this up on Instagram and see what happens." Like, I think it was probably a subtle, like, yeah, oh yeah, like okay,
Right,
you
right, right,
you do something better. Go.
right, right.
Like,
You design a guitar.
right. So, yeah, no, I mean, I thought it was a really cool idea for the video, man. I enjoyed it. If you haven't watched Alex's video on that, go. Even if Mayer's not your cup of tea, it's worth the take that Alex has and the. I find it even if I didn't like John Mayer, I think it would be very interesting. Just the portions you talk about the influence he had on the industry and like you said, where that fell in relation to the guitar coming out and what was going on on the internet due to that guitar being released.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it, brother.
There you go.
I mean, actually, someone posted something not on that video, like on some other John Mayer thing I did, where if John stayed at Fender, like they wouldn't have been able to make a Silver Sky thing anyway. It's just like he had to have left Fender to like to create what he wanted in the way he wanted. Even though it's like, is it that much different than a Strat? Like, of course not.
Right.
But like, there was something about the working relationship at Fender artist that like just wasn't what he was looking for, you know. And you know, it's just it's just like there's nothing. Like, I look back, I'm like, wow, Fender fumbled it. I'm like, you know what, like Fender probably couldn't have done anything. They probably couldn't. They just, that's not how they work. They wouldn't have gotten it. They would have understood it. And I think right after they let go of the guy who he worked with, like Cruz, John Cruz, right? That was like his guy. So
yeah, and to some extent too, though. I mean, like a Fender Strat. I mean, where could he have gone? Because I did sort of a video. I can't remember the exact weak premise that I based this video on, but it was like their Ultra Strat, you know, and it's like their attempt to modernize but still retain vintage things that they, you know, that's basically what the Silver Sky is. It's like it's got a vintage fretboard radius, but it's got all these modern sort of, you know, attributes to the, but then the pickups are voiced off of a vintage, you know, it's this weird mashup of these two things. And I'm like, well, Fender already has a lot of that in their lineup. Like, what else are you going to do with the Fender headstock and the Fender logo and the Fender body shape? You know, you're not going to see him out there with like with what Jack White did with that Telly that just came out. He's not going to do that. Like, it's like, where do you go? And I think you're right. I mean, there's a lot of folklore around that whole thing where it's like, I don't get the sense that it was like some real bad blood thing. I think it was probably just both parties being like, what do we do? Like, I don't know. It's probably not going to work. Like, you want to do something, just generally that's not going to work. Sorry.
Move on. Well, I remember that like there was like one interview John had where he was like, hey, like, I don't like working with a company where they're like, oh, you've already like reached your allotted X, Y, and Z for this year. So next year, like, the corporate limitations were reached and we can't make an exception for John Mayer.
Right.
We can't make an exception for you, John Mayer. And then the other one was like, I can't it sounded like, and it's probably true in a company that big, there were layers of communication that he had to get through to get to the person who like does it. And so it's like, I just want to call the guy whose name is right there, you know.
Yeah, we saw it in person at the, I mean, not to belabor that again, but the PRS 40th. I mean, like, it was very, you could tell, I mean, like, there's names and faces and people who are very accessible to the artists that work with that company and will listen. And, you know, I can't imagine there would have been hours of phone calls with, I mean, there's not even someone in Paul's position at Fender anymore, but G&L could have been a ballsy move. That's funny. Yeah, that's true.
That would have been
cool. That would have been kind of cool. You know? Yeah. But yeah. Good.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna. I mean, it's just like, did he say anything about the video? Did he text you? I know that.
No. Man, I wish I could say that was even a possibility. I wish he's like, hey, can you? Alex got it wrong.
I just want to know if am I in the ballpark here?
No one. I haven't.
Also, heard from it. A lot of people thinking. I made a short about that riff he does.
Where the gospel organ thing.
Yeah, where it goes.
Yeah. Yep.
And a lot of people are like, that's not really gospel. And I'm like, really? I'm like, isn't that gospel?
I mean, it's as close as I'm gonna get, you know.
I feel like I see that all the time on like gospel players and like IG, like they're always doing little lines like that. I mean, it's really more of a keyboard lick, but
it's like an organ lick, you know. It's
like, I was just surprised that like everyone's like, is that really gospel? I'm like, is it not? I'm like, maybe I'm calling it wrong. Like, maybe it's like like a Ray Charles R&B riff. I don't know. Anyway, I was surprised that the word, like using the right word, can elicit.
For sure.
Conversation. I don't think anyone was mad. They were just like, I had no idea that's what it was. I'm like, I have no idea.
Yep.
Play Stairway. You got the you have the acoustic. Here, you go.
No, I'm not going to. Because remember, I don't like Led Zeppelin. Remember that whole fiasco?
Oh,
Talk about-
right.
That's not true, though. It's not true. I
Right? I don't know. I forgot. I learned that solo like a year ago, and
two guys trying to play Stairway to Heaven with each other on YouTube Live is probably cringy because I can't. I'm trying to back you up, but I can't.
Right, and I'm like trying to like learn it by ear now.
It's like,
but that should satisfy you. Love, Hope, Live. Love, Hope, Live.
Live, laugh.
Oh, sorry, I'm like in the
Live, laugh,
it's
love.
like Eat, Pray, Love, right?
Yeah. There you go. Exactly.
Thank you,
Steve.
Right.
It's not request hour. I maintain one of the early Tone Towns. I said it. I was like, I did my time of being yelled at in bars about covers that people wanted me to play, so I refuse. And Sean, yes, so I refuse now to take requests. But Sean, yes, that's exactly what happened. I played the part.
Like in our own way.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
This is Stairway-ish.
Yeah.
This is a tribute.
Me falling down the stairway to heaven is what that is. So,
God. Falling down the stairway to heaven.
Yes.
That's pretty funny.
That's up there with Special Teams Guitar Player. It's not quite there, but it's close. It's close. It's in the ballpark.
I fell down the stairway to heaven, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt. Is that what it is?
That's it. Yeah, that works.
Wait, what do we have? We have Special Teams Guitar, Tone Gulag, a Tone Town mug. It's always morning in Tone Town.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so these are good. I like Tone Gulag.
Tone Gulag is great.
Like that was one of those... Tone Gulag. That would be a funny bit once we have a little more production on it.
Yeah.
Like who's in a Tone Gulag this week? You know what I mean? Like we put someone.
Oh yeah. Put them in. Yeah, they're like.
But like it could be a person, or it could be like a brand, or like it could be like a product, a specific product, or like even it's like a sandwich. Like the BLT I got last week goes in the Tone Gulag because it tasted terrible. Like it's just like our weekly thing where I'm like, that did not live up to our standards.
No. Did you really get a bad BLT?
No, it's
okay.
No, it was good. Yeah.
It's like,
another quick thing before we got about 5 more minutes. So my old drummer was in town. My drummer who I played with 20 years ago. Good friend of mine, and I haven't seen him in like 10 years. But great guy. And I posted a photo of it. We were at Diamond Sound Studios in Nashville. It's a great practice space. We rented it and we started jamming. And I was really nervous. Not to play in front of everyone, but I was like, man, this is the first time I've played and sang, and we're gonna play some of my old songs that I wrote. I was like, man, like, do I still got it? You know what I mean? It's been 3 years since I've played my own stuff and sang and played, and I nailed it. And it felt so good. And I'm not like trying to toot my own horn, but it's like, when you're like, do I got this? And I was like, I have it. So playing videos can actually make you better at guitar, which is crazy because I assumed that my skills would have like not translated to like standing, which is like a whole separate guitar playing. Standing guitar is way different than singing guitar.
Playing, singing, and standing, all of it,
And then singing, standing, playing, like the trifecta, the triple threat. You can stand. That's part of it now. And it turned out so great. And I just want to share that I'm back. Okay, I'm back, and I can't wait for the band to start. So,
well, I'm excited. Tonegarchy. The Tonegarchy is funny. I like that.
Why are you so like? What's your deal, dude? Like, why do you care?
No, don't do that. No, don't do that. He's gonna keep commenting. because we're getting
Yeah.
yeah, that's no, that's
Like,
good. It's okay. Sorry. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, AC. And I know you're new to the internet, but you have to stare into the phone at each other to make it look like we're talking to one. I guess I could do this and look this way and look off into my room so it looks like I'm talking to Alex in real life. But the way the internet works is that I do have to stare at myself to talk to Alex. That's just how the phone's set up.
it's a split screen.
Yeah. But you know, I'm sure you're on it and probably coming up with something very cool that will replace the iPhone concept very soon. So
Yeah.
thank you.
All my videos, it looks like I'm looking at myself. So
I
there's
am.
not a lot I can do.
Because
That's all
ultimately,
I can do about that.
yeah,
Don't look
ultimately
at yourself.
that's why I do this, is because I want to look at myself.
Yeah. Everyone's mods. I'm like, yeah, it's the homies.
Yeah, well,
Everyone in here is my homie. It's like, yeah,
the
no,
Wild
it's all
West
good.
out
It's
there,
like
you know.
everyone in here is a homie. It's like that's what I want. I literally
Yeah.
don't want any new people.
Cooling. I went. Yeah, it was funny. Is that whole rant? He didn't even hear it because he got blocked. That's sad. He can watch the replay though. So playing with a drummer, I don't know about you, but I mean, like, even if it's a fake drummer, I mean, like, it elevates. You know, if I'm lazy and I got to film something, I won't like pull up a track or whatever. I shouldn't say I'm lazy, but sometimes it just doesn't feel like it necessitates it because there's like very short clips of a product or something. But like if I'm playing to a drum loop, or it just it just elevates because you're not necessarily in the room with somebody playing drums, but it holds, you're immediately held accountable to what you're doing. You cannot, I can't make myself noodle around aimlessly when there's a groove happening. And
Right.
you know, so I assume that like getting together outside of like just the fun of playing your old songs and hanging out with an old friend, it's like it's got to be awesome to then also, particularly a drummer. Like, you know, if you had played with another guitar player, a bass player or something, that could have been cool. But like a drummer specifically, I feel like elevates, and also checks. That's a good check to see, like, can I do the standing, singing, and playing thing with arguably the most important part of the band, the heartbeat, the drummer. And
Yeah.
you can. So that's good.
I mean, like the other cool thing about playing with the drummer, I mean, there was a bassist with us too. This guy, Brian, great
Oh,
guy.
you had the whole outfit. I
And
didn't
so,
know
yeah,
that.
so we had a trio, but it was interesting because there's just so much space. I'm like, I really don't have to play that much, and there's only a bassist and a drummer. But you're like, I really can just take it easy here. Funny story: Limp Bizkit took $20 from one of my friends. You should demand it back. Message him back. I love that story about Eddie Van Halen left his guitar. He's like, hey, we should jam. Brought his guitar and amp to Fred Durst's mansion in Beverly Hills. Limp Bizkit like started to get high, so Eddie left. He's like, this sucks. He leaves without saying anything. Left his guitar and amp there. Called the next morning because he needed his guitar and amp. Called, wasn't picking up. Called, wasn't picking up. Got into his tank. Not exaggerating. He had a tank. Drove it down Beverly Hills Boulevard. Rolled up onto the front lawn of Fred Durst's mansion. Jumps out with a gun. Slams on the door. Points the gun at Fred's head. Says, "Give me my effing guitar and amp." And Fred's like, "Oh my god,
This is real? This
it's
happened?
real."
Wow.
Yeah,
I guess
insane.
the most shocking part about that is he drove a tank.
Right, because that's probably not like,
Yeah.
just.
I don't know how
it's
it works.
probably different.
Yeah. It's not a steering wheel. It's funny.
Is that Tone Town legal?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. In Tone Town it is. Yeah.
If Eddie does it,
It's
yeah.
anywhere. Yeah. You know. Okay. Borrow $20.
Cheap. That's really funny. Like,
So the whole band stole the $20, or was it a specific member of the band? That's my question. But
man, that's really
funny.
Limp Bizkit took $20 from my friend. That's like a great story because there's just enough details that I'm like, okay, I believe it.
Probably true.
$20,
Probably
Limp
true.
Bizkit. It's like just enough to get me like build it in my brain.
I like it. I'm gonna say it's true. Stamp it approved. True. So we're
Tone Town verify. What is it? Tone Town fact check.
yeah,
True.
true. Right.
Oh, hold on. We gotta write these down.
Tone Town fact check. There you go.
Tone Town, because like we can go through like, is it true or not if the tubes in your amp, if it changes tone?
Sure. There you go.
Okay.
Tone Town fact check. Just a little recap for those of you joining us. That's what we discussed at the top. Changing preamp tubes in a tube amp. How much of an impact on the sound or feel does it have? I'm here to tell you it feels different. So, well, we've hit 40 minutes.
We've hit 40 minutes.
We've upset countless people. We've solved
no more than I usually do in my day-to-day.
Right. We've solved multiple problems, caused more problems. You know.
But doesn't the thing? It's funny. Like some guy just scrolling along, and they're like, these guys. Wait, let me watch these guys. These guys. You know, just like him, like staring at his phone. They're like, these guys. These guys. Like they don't. It's just like a guy by himself, like getting so pissed off at two people he's never met before.
I just want to know, what I want to know what he was doing the whole time. Like he's probably driving and watching it, just hitting things and not paying attention. Just
I'm imagining him like preparing like salmon or like maybe like a beef Wellington.
Yeah.
And he's like doing like a puff pastry.
Yeah, something very intricate. Yeah.
And he's got like a really big bold red of like decanting.
Yeah.
And then he's got like broccolini, like with some kind of balsamic glaze.
And
he's like trying to do like the finishing touches on this dinner, but he's eating alone.
Yeah,
but he's like still like takes pride in his own dinner, and so he's getting so pissed off about it on live stream. That's just in my head. I'm like, this guy's probably like trying to have a nice night, and then we show up.
We ruined it.
They ruined my Wellington.
Yeah. I cooked it. I overcooked it.
Yeah, because of these morons.
Yes. There you go. OC5. That's the octave pedal, right? Is that what that is? Boss OC5? I think, right? If it's an octave pedal, it's super cool. I love octave pedals.
Oh, hey, Eddie, what's going on, man? We're about to hit the road. I will do a Coheed song, though. I think I know this song. Isn't that what it is? Isn't that it? Isn't that Welcome Home? I love the old Coheed stuff, whatever that Apollo, that album's so good. If I butchered it, sorry. Or if that's not the right song, also sorry. But, I can't stop looking at myself, so.
Look how good I look.
My beef Wellington's ruined because of these two jokers.
That's ruined.
Beep, 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 beep. He's got the smoke alarm. He's got
windows open,
Yeah, he's got his apron on, but he's got like a dish towel to try to fan out the smoke.
He's got a small dog barking now.
Right.
Winston, stop it. Of course, the dog's name is Winston for sure.
God, this poor guy. Like a really white kitchen, though. So it's devoid of like humanity and like warmness. But he's still, you can tell that he has like decent taste, at least in food.
Beef Wellington is good. No one has any idea what we're talking about right now, and that's why it's a good morning in Tone Town. Okay,
it's always morning
because it's always morning in Tone Town. And that's why we can talk about AC's kitchen habits, and it makes sense to us. So,
man,
now here we are.
This was another. Just a roller coaster ride of a live stream.
It was and is.
Hey, guys, thanks for putting in so much work in the chat, too. Appreciate all the support. Appreciate all the love. We're going to keep rolling this train until the wheels fall off.
That's right.
As always, I'm your host, Alex.
I'm your other host, Tom.
And we'll see you guys around on the internet. So long.
See ya.